consider yourself more agreeable in nature and are finding really hard to set in boundaries? Do you find that people walk all over you a lot or maybe play games with you? In this video, I will share with you one little clip from my favorite psychologist. I've been watching him for the last 6 months. Let's see what he has to say about this, how high-value women can take his advice and use it in a healthy way. Hello, my name is Greta Bereisaite. I'm dating and relationship coach for women. For the awesome high-value woman secrets, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I upload new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. And just before I share with you the Jordan Peterson's clip, don't forget to take my free self-awareness test to find out are you a woman of high value or low value, which I will drop down in my video description box below. And if you like any of these hoodies, you can get them in my YouTube store. So without further ado, let's have a look at this.
What's the difference between men and women? Well, how do they differ? Well, the first thing we might observe is that if you look at personality differences between prepubescent boys and girls, they're not very large. Boys and girls don't differ in terms of their trait neuroticism, for example. What happens is that when puberty kicks in, women's trait neuroticism rises, and it stays higher than men for the rest of their life. And this is why you see this reflected in the different kinds of psychopathology that beset the two sexes. So men are overrepresented in alcoholism, drug abuse, antisocial personality, and a host of learning disorders, as well as attention deficit disorder. And women are overrepresented in depression and anxiety, primarily. That seems to be tightly associated with higher levels of trait neuroticism, because maybe it's, if you're at the 95th percentile or higher, let's say, in trait neuroticism, there isn't much difference between that and being somewhat prone to depression and anxiety. And because the curves overlap, you know, the curves aren't identical, the normal distributions aren't identical for men and women, you tilt the one to the right, to the women's curve to the right towards higher levels of neuroticism. You go out and you look for the person in 20 who has the highest levels of negative emotion. It's much more likely to be female than male. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out why. So I'm going to tell you some things, basic differences between men and women, and you can tell me what you think about it if you agree or disagree. Okay, first, size differential emerges between men and women at puberty, right? Because boys and girls are roughly the same size and roughly the same strength, but men get bigger at puberty when the testosterone kicks in, and more importantly, not only do they get taller and heavier, but their upper body strength is much higher. Okay, so there's a body size difference that's important, a strength differential that's important. Next thing, I think, so let's assume that the reason that women are higher in sensitivity to negative emotion is because the world is actually more dangerous to women, right? Because that would be the most logical reason why there would be a sex difference in something like fear or sensitivity to punishment. Well, first, there's the danger of physical altercation. Second, there's the sexual danger. So women become sexually vulnerable at puberty. And why do I say vulnerable? Well, it's straightforward. It's because the cost of sex for women is way higher than it is for men. And it certainly has been throughout our evolutionary history. Because if a man has an unwanted sexual encounter, well, then he walks away and maybe he's persecuted by the state or prosecuted by the state for it. But if a woman has an unwanted, unwarranted, or incautious sexual encounter and she ends up pregnant, then, well, in traditional societies, you're just done. And even in modern societies that are rich like ours, I don't have to go into that. It's big trouble. No matter what you do about it, it's big trouble. So being more nervous about that makes perfect sense. But then here's the last thing.
Okay, so I'll just pause this for a second. So as you can see, women by nature are more neurotic. We are more negative because we have to protect ourselves. So we are more vulnerable because we are not as strong as men are. We are sexually much more vulnerable because, you know, when we hit puberty, like guys are approaching us, you know, be stronger, so we kind of have to protect ourselves. And because we have to watch out for danger so much, we naturally become more neurotic. And you know, like nowadays guys play so many games as well, like, and when somebody's pursuing you, you're neurotic, you're careful because you're like, maybe he's gonna take advantage of me. Maybe he's playing a game. Does he really care? Is this for real? So naturally we are more protective of ourselves, right, from all of these dangers. The third thing what Jordan Peterson said is protecting the baby, right? So when we moms, we have to protect the baby. We have to have a safe, good environment for the baby, so we naturally look out for dangers. So because we as women are more neurotic than men, we look for our ideal partner. We are looking for somebody who can provide safety and security, which contradicts so much what dating coaches for men coach men nowadays. Is like, give her uncertainty, play games with her so she would chase you. You're the king, you're the prize, she needs to pursue you. So basically what these dating coaches coach men, it does not even make sense, because we as women, we are not looking for uncertainty, we are looking for safety, security, a man to be reliable. We don't have that, we are more neurotic, so we need the safety to calm us down. Adding one more point to that, why men need to pursue women, why men need to chase women. It's not because we are these arrogant queens. We are looking for safety and security, and when a man is pursuing a woman, he is showing to her that, look, I care about you, I'm investing into you, these are my actions, you can trust me, I'm there for you, I will give you safety and security. Right? So when a man is pursuing a woman, he's automatically fulfilling our love needs, which again contradicts so much what dating coaches for men coach men nowadays. Give her uncertainty, act all cool, women need uncertainty. It's nonsense. How can we need uncertainty when we are more neurotic and we are more vulnerable in this world?
And I think that women's nervous systems are not adapted to women. I think women's nervous systems are adapted to the mother-infant dyad. And because you are not the same creature when you have an infant, not at all. You're way more vulnerable. And it's partly because you have to express the vulnerability of the infant, and you also have to care for it, right? So you think about an infant, especially under 9 months. So let's say, how are you going to be wired up if you're going to optimally care for an infant under 9 months? And I'm saying under 9 months because women generally do the bulk of childcare for infants who are under 9 months old. And part of the reason for that, there's a whole host of reasons, but part of the reasons for that, obviously, is that they breastfeed. But imagine what you need to be wired up biologically in order to care for an infant. First of all, they're very demanding, right? Because they're completely helpless, and they're demanding 24 hours a day, and it's quite a emotional load. And an infant under 9 months is never wrong, right? What you do to an infant under 9 months is when they're in distress, you always respond. You never tell the infant, get your act together and stop whining, right? Which you can do, say, to a child that's 18 months old. You can start having that sort of conversation. But under 9 months, it's like nothing is the infant's fault. It's surrounded in an extraordinarily threatening world. And you have to be responsive to what it needs, regardless of what you want, and you have to be very sensitive to the threats that emerge in the environment. And so I think the price that women pay for that ability to have an intimate relationship with infants in the very earliest stages of development is that their nervous systems are actually wired so that they can perform that role optimally. And the disadvantage to that is that having a temperament like that doesn't work that well when you're dealing with adult men, especially when you're dealing with them in a business environment, because it's not the same thing. Not at all. It's a competitive environment. So, okay, so agreeable people are compassionate and polite. What are disagreeable people like? They're tough-minded, they're blunt, they're competitive, and they won't do a damn thing they don't want to do. So it isn't exactly that they're aggressive, although they will push you the hell out of their way if you're in the way. They're not like volatile like you are if you're high in neuroticism. It isn't defensive aggression. It's more like predatory aggression. It's dominance behavior. And so for someone who's highly disagreeable, they look at the world as a place in which they can compete and win. Corporations and large institutions of any sort run on the unheralded labor of people who are high in agreeableness and high in conscientiousness, and they're disproportionately women. And my experience in large institutions has been that if you want to hire someone to exploit appropriately, no, not appropriately, if you want to hire someone to exploit productively, you hire middle-aged women who are hyper-conscientious and who are agreeable. because they'll do everything. They won't take credit for it and they won't complain. And that's nasty, and I think that happens all the time. And so one of the things you have to be careful of if you're agreeable is not to be exploited, because you'll line up to be exploited. And I think the reason for that is because you're wired to be exploited by infants. And so that just doesn't work so well in that actual world. And one of the things that happens very often in psychotherapy, people come to psychotherapy for multiple reasons, but one of them is they often come because they're too agreeable. And so what they get is so-called assertiveness training, although it's not exactly assertiveness that's being trained. What it is the ability to learn how to negotiate on your own behalf. And one of the things I tell agreeable people, especially if they're conscientious, is say what you think. Tell the truth about what you think. There's going to be things you think that you think are nasty and harsh. And they probably are nasty and harsh, but they're also probably true. And you need to bring those up to the forefront and deliver the message. And it's not straightforward at all, because agreeable people do not like conflict. Not at all. They smooth the water. And you can see why that is in accordance with the hypothesis that I've been putting forward. You don't want conflict around infants. It's too damn dangerous. You don't want fights to break out. You don't want anything to disturb the relative peace. And if you're also more prone to being hurt physically and perhaps emotionally, it might be safer in the short term to keep the waters smooth and to not delve into those situations where conflict emerges. The problem with that is it's not a very good medium to long-term strategy, right? Because lots of times there are things you have to talk about because they're not going to go away.
So women are more agreeable than men. And as Jordan Peterson said, women are more agreeable because we kind of want to provide a safe environment for children, right? So if a man is confronting them or he's angry, she doesn't want to get involved into a conflict because then it provides like unsafe environment for the baby. So she's kind of like, okay, I'm just not gonna say anything, so there is like peace in the family. Biologically, it seems like women are wired this way. And it's no surprise, because if we look at the Bible, this is why God says to a man, you have to treat a woman with careness. You have to be gentle with her because she's agreeable. When you're agreeable by nature, it's hard to stand up for yourself. Because it's hard to stand up for yourself, people start to walk all over you and we start to take advantage of you. So according to God, men should be protecting us and looking after us and treating us with gentleness and caring and respect, instead of trying to compete with us, play game with us, or walk all over us. This is why we need to learn to stand up for ourselves by setting in boundaries, because otherwise we're going to be walked all over by men and people who do not acknowledge or respect God's word. If you want to know how to set in boundaries with guys, check out my video right here. And if you want to understand the games men play with women so you do not fall into their trap, I have a video for sale and I will drop it down in my video description box below and as a pinned comment under this video. If you liked this video, please press like. Let me know in the comments below what did you think. Join Greta's High Value Women's School, where we are all in the same boat, learning how to be women of high value and bring out the best in our men. Follow me on my Instagram. My Instagram is called Ladies Relationship Coach. And for one-on-one group coaching or coaching with a member of my team, book me through my website, which is called Bereisaite.com. Thank you for watching. Kisses from Dorset. Mwah.